On today's show, the Phoenix Suns get a big fat W to open their season, but it's not that they won, it's how they won. What do I mean by that? We'll discuss on this edition of Locked On Phoenix Suns.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up? Welcome back into Locked On Phoenix Suns. My name is Benjamin Garcia, host of the Ben Garcia Show, mornings on YouTube, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 7 a.m., as well as a credentialed Phoenix Suns media member covering your Phoenix Suns 365 days out of the calendar year. That's what we do at the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. However you may be listening, wherever you may be listening, thank you for making the show a part of your day. Don't forget that Locked On Suns is free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So click that follow or subscribe button to do what thousands, dare I say millions, billions, trillions Suns fans have already done. Become it every day and get locked on the Phoenix Suns right here each and every day. Guys, did that feel good? Did that feel good? Before I dive deep into the show, overreact. You as a Suns fan deserve that kind of win that you have not seen in, I think, years. Overreact. You want to go the next 48 hours telling me this team's going to win a championship? Go for it. There's no one that deserves that win more than the fans. And I know in years past, there's been different ways to break down games. But tonight was a culture win. Tonight was a culture win. Check social media. Everyone was dooming and glooming and poo-pooing this Suns team, from media to fans. Check what I did. Nope, never did that. I didn't say the game was over. I didn't say the season was over. I wasn't adding Matt Ishbia saying how terrible of an owner he is and what a garbage roster he put together. It was a little baffling to me, the amount of people that were burying this team after one half, thinking, was I the only one that watched the preseason? Was I the only one that watched preseason basketball? That exact game already happened against the Brooklyn Nets in China. The Brooklyn Nets were shooting 60% from the field. They were up double digits against the Phoenix Suns. And the Suns did exactly in that game what they did tonight. They got into the locker room. They kind of looked around, said, okay, that half was fun. Now it's time to buckle down what we do well. And tonight was a culture win. This is something you can point to when during later parts of the season you say to yourself, well, golly, what is this team? Well, I know what they are. The Suns showed that they have an identity. Does anyone think this time last year that this, or I guess I shouldn't say this time last year because the Suns actually looked decent this time last year, but does anyone think that this Suns team, in any point of the Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker era, would come back in a game in that kind of way? Yeah, I know the Suns have came back against the Sacramento Kings before, down by a boatload of points. But have the Suns ever shown the ability to do that? And that's suffocate a team defensively. Rip the ball away. Turn defense into offense. It took every player playing tonight to get this win. The Suns played 10 guys deep. Really 9. Nick Richards barely touched the floor. And we can get into, what it looked like later. They closed with the different players that they started with, and they probably should have just started that way, but they're easing Mark Williams in. We already saw this game. Don't bury this team. We saw it 2 weeks ago against the Brooklyn Nets. They were dead and buried in a preseason game. They went into the locker room, said, guys, the shots aren't falling. Got to fall back into what we do well. And we're going to suffocate the opposing team defensively. I know it looked like a tall task. I know it looked nearly impossible because that Brooklyn Nets team doesn't have the shot makers that the Sacramento Kings have. I was looking at this Kings roster and I was saying to myself, they kind of got some dudes. Like Drew Eubanks is terrible, but Dennis Schroeder's a real NBA player. Zach LaVine is obviously a fringe all-star player. DeMar DeRozan's been doing it for a really long time. Outside of today having the whistle of prime LeBron James, which was just asinine, ridiculous. But they've got some dudes. Malik Monk came off the bench and cooked. And the Suns look dead in the water. They look dead in the water. I never said they were. Because I was like, let's see. Even someone like myself who never gave up in this game ever once, even I second-guessed my belief because of what the Kings have. They were up 20-plus points in this game. And they've got shot makers to continue to put points on the board. This was a very impressive win from the Phoenix Suns. That being Jordan Ott, Devin Booker, Dillon Brooks. In a game where Devin Booker wasn't great. Like if I told you this, hey, the Suns are going to get down 20-plus points. Devin Booker's not going to play a super great game. Did not take care of the basketball. Had 6 turnovers tonight. I think at times had some, got in his way a little bit in terms of, bad offensive fouls or just throwing the ball to the opposing team, not taking the easy layup. Kind of just some bad habits that I think are trickling over from last year. Dillon Brooks is going to shoot 1 for 8 and shoot 24 shots on its own. We can talk about how that should never happen, but in a game where Booker shoots fine, but in the beginning was shooting them out of it, Dillon Brooks is going to shoot 24 shots and make 9 of them. And they get down 20-plus points against the team that's got a lot of shot creators. 99 out of 100 times they lose that game. And 100 times out of 100 times they lose that game in years past. But the Suns have an identity. They're not just a collection of talent that rolls the ball out there and says, go play. I trust you. That doesn't work in the NBA. And to be fair, this was an atrocious offensive performance for the first 2.5 quarters of this game. The Suns turned it on in the third and fourth quarter, outscoring the Kings in both 36 points, 30 points. But the Suns beat the Kings at their own game. We'll run you up and down the court. At one point, the Suns were shooting 31% midway through the second quarter. They finished this game shooting 47% from the field. That's not elite, but it's 16 percentage points higher than it was before. They had more possessions. They forced 13 turnovers in this game. 6 of them came in the first quarter. They, forced 19 points off of those 13 turnovers. But the Suns just suffocated them. And it took everyone on the floor. The offense at times just looked like what we warned you it was going to look like. A lot of Devin Booker trying to make things happen and praying Dillon Brooks and Grayson Allen are hitting threes. But guys, let me tell you this. This was a very important culture win and win overall. The Suns have a lot of scheduled losses on the docket. They're going to play, when they play Oklahoma City and they play Denver, and, the Clippers look terrible tonight, but teams like the Clippers, maybe even Golden State, they're going to lose a lot of games to really good teams because they're not the Suns of 2021 where they're going to win these games. This game, although game 1 of the season, really matters for this Phoenix Suns team. It really matters. Because coming up next on the docket, they've got the Clippers who are going to be itching for a win after getting completely embarrassed against the Utah Jazz. They're going to be the Denver Nuggets are probably going to steamroll them. And then they've got Utah the next 2 of 3 games. But you are looking at a potential 0-3 start to the season if you didn't win this game. These coin flip games, these games against teams that you're favored against, or when you play Charlotte or the Wizards, they just matter a ton. You got to win these games. And so the Suns pulled one out. And it was a very impressive win because without Devin Booker being, supernova Devin Booker that I need him to be in the regular season for this team to have a chance, in a game where Dillon Brooks, who was their second best shot creator in this game, and I'm not saying that as a compliment, shot 1 for 8 from 3, Grayson Allen 3 for 7. Combined, they shot 4 for 15. They only made 10 threes on the night, shot sub 30%. and they won. Like, forget the fact that this was an important win. Forget the fact that this was a culture win. What do good teams do? They find a way to win ugly. And the Suns found a way to win ugly in this game. Where was the game won? Where, how did they continue to do it? And let's briefly talk about the rookies and the rotations next. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Mint Mobile. If you're still overpaying for wireless, it's time to say yes to saying no. At Mint Mobile, their favorite word is no. No contracts, no monthly bills, no coverages, no hidden fees, no BS. I said yes to making the switch and getting premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint makes it simple. All plans come with high-speed data, unlimited talk, text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can even bring your own phone and keep your same number and contacts. I love that you are getting the same quality service you had before, but for a fraction of the price. Ready to say yes to saying no? Make the switch at mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. That's mintmobile.com/LockedOnNBA. Upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plans. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. Today's episode is also brought to you by our friends over at Rasheer. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired, or it happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. That's where Rasheer comes in. Rasheer.com offers fast-acting doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rasheer makes it easy to get started. You just connect with board-certified doctors, 100% online, no awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. Visit rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA to get $15 off your first order. That's rugiet.com/LockedOnNBA. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNBA so they know we sent you. Rasheer, stop making excuses and start making moves. So, I want to talk about some standout performances in this game. I'm old enough to remember when I came on here and I said the better version for this Suns team, the best version for this team next year, is to get younger and to play faster. They don't have the weapons offensively to keep up with teams. The fact that they won this game 120 to 116, don't get used to that scoring from the Phoenix Suns. They don't have the bandwidth to get 120 points a game. This is a 105 point per game team and winning games by doing what they did to the Los Angeles Clippers tonight. Holding teams to subpar field goal percentages and blocking teams at the rim. I'm just curious tonight, how many blocks do the Phoenix Suns have tonight? Because it felt like every 5 seconds they were blocking the Sacramento Kings, and I want to just be able to look at that really quickly. Yeah, the Suns had 7 blocks tonight, and it felt like all 7 of them came late in that third quarter, early in the fourth quarter. But I'm old enough to remember that I said with this young, up-and-coming roster, with not a lot of guys that can get a bucket in ISO situations or from 3, Colin Gillespie is the perfect complement to Devin Booker and Jalen Green off the bench than Chris Paul is. And you saw that tonight. The Suns got out in transition. They had 64 points in the paint, and a lot of that comes from when Devin Booker wasn't in the game, but instead Colin Gillespie was. No, there wasn't insane stat sheet stuffing being done. 7 points, a +9 from +9 overall, 2 offensive rebounds, which were both massive, and he shot 3 for 9 from the field. But the 4 assists and the 0 turnovers in 22 minutes of play are glaring. He's responsible for, 17 points while Devin Booker was on the bench. They started the fourth quarter without Devin Booker. And I said to myself, God, they're up in this game, but where's the shot creating? Where's the quick buckets going to come? This team needed to get younger and they needed to play with more pace. But even more than any of that, you also had Dillon Brooks in this game come out and do exactly what Dillon Brooks needed to do. Does anyone think this Suns team wins this way than in or does anyone think last year's Suns team wins the way that this Suns team won today? By suffocating defensively and being a bunch of tough guys and push the opposing team around. Dillon Brooks is as advertised. Listen, hate the fact that he shot 24 points or that he shot 24 shots tonight. That cannot happen. He is not a good enough playmaker. He is not a good enough shot creator. He needs to limit his shots. More of those need to go to Grayson Allen and, Mark Williams when he's healthy. Royce O'Neal kind of bailed them out a couple of times tonight. But that's not why you brought Dillon Brooks in. He's kind of a foundation in the culture. He's one of those pillars that are holding it up. And how many times tonight did he get in the head of the Sacramento Kings? How I was watching the game tonight. Obviously I was at the game and sitting there with all the other media members, so I were recording so late. And I'm saying to myself, God, this guy is in the head of DeMar DeRozan. It's just I don't know what it is. But he's not shooting well from the field. DeMar DeRozan is clearly outplaying him, and he's still up in his face. And there's something to that. How many times last year did the Phoenix Suns get, mollywopped by opposing teams, not just mentally, but physically, push them around? Dillon Brooks was in multiple scrums tonight, ready to start fighting people. Not really, because in the NBA, no one actually fights. But there are actual tough guys and building blocks to this team. No one's going to come up to Devin Booker and push him without getting a push in the, right back from Dillon Brooks. There was a double foul tonight. I haven't seen that in a long time between DeMar DeRozan and Dillon Brooks because they're fighting with each other. And I understand the stat sheet says different, but your eyes tell you also differently. Dillon Brooks and Colin Gillespie were awesome tonight. And there were moments in this game early in that third quarter where Colin Gillespie showed you his importance to this team, running up and down the floor, finding guys open in space, being a pesky defender. And in the same breath, Dillon Brooks, is the definition of what the team wants to be this year. And I thought it was very pleasing to watch. Just a team care a little bit more. The give a bleepness, if you will, from this Suns team. And, offensively as well. When things weren't going well, I thought Jordan Ott did something that hasn't been done in previous seasons with Budenholzer, with Vogel. He was able to get the Suns easy buckets around the rim, scheme it up, get guys cutting. Ryan Dunn had a big dunk in this game. Mark Williams came up big in a bunch of different instances in this game. They had 64 points in the paint as a whole. The moral of the story is, if you're going to play this Suns team, you're going to play their brand of basketball. And you might beat them. That's fine. But you're going to do it their way. And the Kings got lackadaisical. They let the Suns off the hook. And they allowed them to slow the game down defensively and then offensively run up and down the court. I thought for sure the Suns were losing this game when they were up. I guess I shouldn't say that because I never lost faith in the Suns. The Suns could lose, but I wasn't bailing on the season ever. And I didn't bail on that game. But I was very concerned that the Suns were going to lose this game when they were up 110 to 106. Because I just said to myself, God, they just don't have the shot creators that Sacramento has. And, Levine is throwing up shots that might have hit the parking lot. They were so off. But on paper, DeRozan, Levine, Monk, Schroeder, like they've got guys that can put the ball in the basket. The Suns didn't have that. Like credit to the Suns, man. Credit to them for holding on to that lead. That is a tenacious effort. They could have mailed it in and they did not. And I just thought that that was really impressive. Let's also go into, the culture, the identity of it all, and why this game looked exactly like I told you a lot of Suns games are going to look. And let's do it next. Today's episode is brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was intrigued. I've heard so much about their quality from friends and family, so I had to give it a try. Let me tell you, it lives up to the hype. Truly, it really does. I've always had issues with underwear fit, comfort, or just finding the right style for me. Skims changed all that. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. Listen, I tried the Skims boxer briefs. I love my boxer briefs. I love my Skims boxer briefs. I'm hooked, man. They are perfect for my active lifestyle. They move with me, never lose their shape, and stay in place all day. That last part is really important. Whether I'm working out or just running errands, they're the most comfortable or reliable underwear I've ever owned. Plus, the lightweight material makes it feel amazing, almost like you're wearing nothing at all. Shop Skims men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcast in the survey and select my show, Locked on Suns, in the drop-down menu that follows. We shouldn't be surprised that the Suns won tonight. Like, you shouldn't be. I'm a little surprised in how they did it towards the end. Like, they had to score 120 points in this game. That is not going to happen super often. And they did it super inefficiently. They shot 30% from three. However, have I not said this numerous times before? I feel vindicated tonight. It's one game, and it truly is one game. I want fans to overreact as much as they want to because they deserve this win. But does this win not look exactly like I told you it would look like? Teams are going to walk into, mortgage, whatever arena. The morgue is what they're calling it, which is, don't love that because, morgue doesn't have a very positive connotation to it, but that's a story for another day. This game looked like how I told you it was going to look. Every game was going to look like for the Suns team. Whether the Suns win or lose, the opposing team is going to walk out of PHX Arena, mortgage, whatever arena, and they're going to say, what the hell just happened? What the hell just happened? If we're doing our, Footprint Center, PHX Arena, mortgage, whatever, arena vibe check, right? Last year we used to do this with Brendan, who was at the stadium. John Rahm was there if you're a golf guy. But I'm standing outside the opposing team's tunnel, watching them walk out. All of them look demoralized. Every single one of them. I saw Zach LaVine, kick a thing on his way out. I saw Dennis Schroeder cursing to himself. Russell Westbrook pissed off. DeMar DeRozan saying to himself, how did we let that one get away? That is what Phoenix Suns basketball is going to look like. Too many times last year was I watching the opposing team come out of the tunnel and they're skipping out. They're laughing at the Suns. That's not going to be the case here anymore. You're going to walk out of this game knowing what the hell just happened. Whether they win or lose. OKC's going to come in here, probably beat the Suns. But they're going to say to themselves, damn, did we have to sweat that one? How did we only score 100 points? They don't have any other shot creators. How were they close with us? But this is just it, guys. Get used to it. This is the new foundation of the Phoenix Suns. The foundation of the Phoenix Suns. There's some things I didn't get to today, and we'll get to tomorrow with my guy, John Voida, who's going to join me from the Suns Jam Session podcast and Bright Side of the Sun. But I found it interesting that one, they started Oso Ighodaro, and two, none of the rookies played. First on the Oso thing, and we'll get deeper into this tomorrow. I don't get it. I don't get the Oso Ighodaro thing. I thought tonight he stood out for kind of a lot of bad reasons. He made a couple of shots. I think he had 7 points in this game. But when bleep hit the fan and they needed to close out the game, they found themselves going with Mark Williams, who was supposed to be on a minute restriction, and not Oso Ighodaro. He was 3 for 5 tonight. He had 4 rebounds. He's a small, big, 1 assist tonight. I was not impressed with the performance we're getting from Oso Ighodaro. Guys, it's game 1, so I'm not going to say what I want to say. I am concerned about Oso and his fit on this team and where he's going to play. I think that guy is just going to be a trade chip later on. It's one game. I will be willing to be wrong, but what does he's a smart basketball player and he makes good passes despite having 1 assist tonight. But he's out rebounded by Ryan Dunn. He only had 3 buckets. I get that they're on minute restrictions for Mark Williams, but they told you what they thought of him late in the game. They pulled his ass out, stuck Mark Williams in. The Nick Richards thing, also interesting. He only played 5 minutes tonight and shot 100% from the field. He shot 3 for 3 from the field. What I am surprised by is that Rasheer, Fleming, and Khaman Maluach didn't see the floor. And really the Suns, they played 10 guys, but they really went 8 deep. Nick Richards played 5 minutes. Nigel Hayes-Davis played 10 minutes. This Suns team needs Khaman Maluach and Rasheer Fleming. And I can't lie to you, it's a little concerning that Khaman Maluach got no minutes tonight. He should be playing over Oso Ighodaro. And then Rasheer Fleming, I don't get the Nigel Hayes thing. I don't get it. Why he's not playing over Nigel Hayes and taking those 10 minutes, I don't understand. Nigel Hayes tonight. All that motivation, big fat 0 on the stat sheet. So, there's a lot of good from this game. And we'll get into some of the negatives tomorrow on the show, but those are some of the teasers for you. I don't get the Oso Ighodaro thing starting him. I think he was in charge of kind of some of the really bad mishaps and why Nigel Hayes-Davis is still playing. Rasheer Fleming could really help this team. But with that being said, guys, massive W for the Suns. Massive W, and it's a win they needed. It's a win they needed. These games matter. And Booker and Dillon Brooks and Gillespie, everyone kind of played a hand in it that played tonight. But this is what a lot of games are going to look like. And you, as a Suns fan, deserved it. Suns never stopped caring in this game. Never once. And they were feisty on the defensive end. There were a lot of blocks in this game, and it just took a little bit for them to get going. But overall, big, massive, fat W for the Phoenix Suns. They are 1-0. The Sacramento Kings are 0-1. And I guarantee you they're scratching their heads saying, what the hell just happened? I might have to go watch Locked On Kings after this. But with that being said, guys, follow me on all social media platforms at Ben Garcia Show. For everyone tuning in, thank you so much for doing so. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, tell a friend about Locked On Phoenix Suns, and, enjoy the W. Enjoy the W. Overreact to it. That's okay. You deserve this. But with that being said, I'm Benjamin Garcia. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow with my guy, John Voida. But for now, it's been Locked On Phoenix Suns.